Hey, welcome everyone to the Livestream Masterclass from Architect Marketing Institute, How to Target and Win Higher Fees. My name is Eric Bobrow and I'm co-founder of AMI along with my esteemed partner, Richard Petrie. How are you doing, Richard?
Doing well. Hey, Eric. Hey, everybody. Hey, Christian.
So,
How's it going, Eric? Richard?
Good.
Yeah, let us know that you can hear us. Type into the comments. There is an option in Facebook if you follow this directions to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and give permission, then we will be able to see your comments in our broadcast studio. We're going live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube simultaneously, and we are really excited to share this with you today. What do we have in store, Richard?
Well, we're gonna run through the idea of winning bigger, better projects. So I'm going to take everybody through the framework that we use with our clients, and I'm going to give some very specific examples about how you would go about the philosophy and the thinking behind how you would go about winning better projects. It's going to be good.
All right. So I'm going to turn off my webcam. And did you want to introduce Christian?
Yeah. So Christian is kind of like Father Christmas. We call him Mr. Cool Stuff. Not only because he looks the coolest, but he often contacts people when we run webinars like this or live streams. He also helps out and finds out what else people need, because obviously on a live stream like this, we might be covering one topic. He will often connect and deliver more stuff. So if we've got extra bonuses or things like that, then he kind of delivers that stuff. So he's the guy you need to be nice to, because he has got the cool stuff. And, we've got a whole lot of resources. We've been doing this for 10 years. So Christian has access to a library of stuff, so he can help you out to a decent degree. So yeah, that'll be cool. All right.
What
else do you need to know, Eric?
Yeah, and I'll let you go.
All right, we're going to get into it. All right, let's go. I'll leave my camera on. So present. You'd think I've done this many times before, but and that one is what I want. There we go. Okay, cool. All right, let's go. Right, so what we want to do is we want to talk about how to win better projects, right? And so, and in particularly earn higher fees, right? And I don't know. I think a lot of architects get stuck on a certain level of projects, and they tend to stay at that level for long periods of time. We have a place, that we call Sunshine Island, which is high fees and really fulfilling projects, which I imagine is what everybody wants. If you're going to go to design school for 5 years, then you want to be working on really cool projects and paid really well. And there is I think it's a misconception that you can't have both. There's a lot of compromising done by architects who accept jobs they probably shouldn't, and earn income far less than. And that's the one thing. I came from outside I'm not an architect myself, but I came from outside the architecture industry, and as an outsider, it's kind of handy you do get to look at an industry. And one of the surprising things were architects don't earn as much money as they should and as they can, and also they accept projects which are probably below what they should be accepting. And I think the reason for that is that you guys aren't taught to be like super good marketers. You study for 5 years and then go out and work for someone else. But if you spend a little bit more time learning how to win really good projects, that's the missing ingredient for a lot of you anyway. So hopefully we can I can I can't show you everything, but I can open a door for you today to give you an indication as to how you can fix that. Okay, because this is kind of what we do, is help people win projects, consistently good projects. Okay, so there are 9 steps, and I'm not going to cover all of them, but 1 is about getting focused, knowing what you want. Step 2 is about selecting and being very selective about the type of projects and clients you want. Step 3 is around knowing how to communicate your value to those select type of projects and select type of clients, right? We need you to position yourself as number 1, or the best option, the most valuable option for them. Not necessarily the cheapest, but the most valuable. Number 4, we need to, I've got lead here. What it stands for is thought leadership, which is around producing ideas and content that attracts those ideal clients to you, right? And there's a bit of an art to that. And I'm going to give you specific examples of this today. I'm probably going to give you more specific examples than I've ever given before. So I'm not going to go so much into the theory, but I'm going to show you how it gets done. Right. And then if you've got a bit of a following, let's say you've got a following for your type of architecture, which will happen in step number 4, we need to get them to graduate from just following you and being aware of you and liking, the ideas that you have. We need to get them into meeting you, wanting to meet you, and book that first meeting, because nothing happens until you meet. Then I am very big, for those of you who have been following Eric and I for any length of time, you'll know that one of the very key steps in this, in my process, our process, is this diagnosis step, right? And this is a paid diagnosis. And then we get them to, these are the promotion. We get them to refer, we talk about running promotions. We talk about circle of love, which is staying in touch with those people. I'm not going to go through these so much. It's more the how to position yourself so that you're going to be attractive to high value clients. Okay. All right. So with that in mind, there's a lot I can cover, but I've simplified it down to just a few things. So the first question is, and just, you can write this down to yourself, but out of 10, if 10 is the most you could possibly enjoy, how good is your current income out of 10? How would you rate it out of 10? Okay, so you can just write this down to yourself, but have a think. Be honest with yourself. You don't have to share it with us. But where is your income out of 10? Okay, if 10 is the most you could be earning, or the highest earners in your area, where are you out of 10? Okay, next question is, how many projects ideally would you do per year? Right? If you could have a blank piece of paper and I said to you, don't worry about number of projects, I can win you whatever you want. Let's just imagine I could win you whatever. I was going to come and work as your marketing man, and I'll say, I'll get you whatever you want. How many do you want a year? Just write that number down. And then what would you like your average fee to be? Right? What would you like your average fee per project to be? Now, I'm going to assume it's not going to be 20,000. You don't want to do a lot of small projects, because we're going to hypothetically talk about earning at $300,000, right? So we're going to mathematically go through this quickly, and then I'm going to show you and say, okay, if that was the case, how would we go about it? Okay, so let's say, and I'm just going to make this up for you. Let's say you go, I would like to do 4 projects a year. That's all I want to do, 4 really good projects a year. And let's say you tell me that I want to earn 300,000 a year. Now, to some of you, that may seem a ridiculous number, maybe far higher than what you're earning now. Maybe to some of you, it's less than what you're earning now. Probably not many of you, but okay. So let's say I only want to do 4 projects a year, but I want 4 really good projects. All right. What would you like your average fee to be? Okay. Now I'm going to speak on your behalf and say, well, I'd like $100,000 fee per project, right? Let's say you've got $100,000 in expenses. Maybe you've got a part-time staff member and an office, and you've got to buy computers and stationery and drive your car around. So let's say you've got $100,000 expenses. And like I say, these numbers may be miles off your numbers, but for the sake of this exercise, I think it's useful. Okay, so if you wanted a $100,000 fee, I'm gonna guess roughly. Let's say you charge 10% of construction, so we're going to need a $1 million project, right? And 10% of that's 100,000. And if you did 4 of those and you had $100,000 worth of expenses, which for a small firm is quite a lot of expenses, but let's say you've got a staff member and a few other things, then bang, that's how you would do 300K, right? So mathematically, all you would need to do is win 4 $1 million projects, right? And you might say, and some of you would go, yeah, that's okay. I can imagine that. And others would go, I can't imagine how I would do in $4 million projects. There's not that many of them around in my area, or there's certainly not that many calling me. All right. So what I need to do now is take you through an example of, let's say, doing this. All right. Now, once again, these numbers may be very different from yours. It's more the process I want to show you, and the numbers just help us to make it real. Okay, so now what we need to do, we've done a very quick run over setting goals and things, but enough for this exercise. And we've got 35 minutes. Okay, choose the projects that you want to choose. Okay, now there's a lot of things we can do, but to keep it simple for today, in this case, let's say I'm talking to you and you say, all right, I want to do residential. I want to do $1 million residential builds or renovations or something like that, which is a pretty good one. So, and you decide, I'm going to pick a niche, because the truth about marketing is it really works far better when you're very specific. So you can't just say I'm an architect and no job is too big or too small.
Richard?
Yeah.
Sorry, you haven't been showing your screen as far as I can tell. And I tried to switch it myself, but it looks like you were in control. So go ahead and turn on your screen. I'll disappear again, but people were not seeing your mind map.
Were they not? Okay.
You have to use the little controls below the preview,
yeah.
Which is that?
Well, it says stop sharing, so I will stop it. And maybe people can just type in the window if you can see it or not, just to let us, Eric, know. Certainly, according to my screen, it says it is. Share screen. Okay, it's saying it's sharing it again.
So you have to click below where you see our 2 images right now, and you have to click to show one of the ones that has the.
Yeah, I've done that.
It's not...
Done that. It may be. Can't see. Okay, you're right. I can't see it. All right. Sorry about this. Share screen. Okay, present. I'm seeing it on my screen.
It had to be added to the stream, Richard. So although you were you had changed the layout, it wasn't added to the stream. And I'm going to remove myself from the stream now. So sorry to interrupt, but it is important that people see what you're trying to show them.
That's right. Dead right. Okay. All right. Well, I'll just zoom out and I'll give you sort of an overview so you know what this looks like, and then I'll dive back in. So what I'm taking you through is this mind map here. It's kind of a summary of the process that we take people through to help them win these projects. So you can see here, the focuses, we've kind of covered that. I'm going to cover probably up to about here, number 6. All right. So I was in the select. All right. All right. It's always good when you can see what the presenter's presenting, isn't it? Luckily with the maths, it wasn't that fancy, so you could probably do it in your head. Okay. All right. So in this case, let's say that you come to me and you say, right, I want to backyard developers. I want to work with people in a reasonably, they own a larger section. It's in a high value neighborhood, and they can subdivide it and add a second dwelling on it. Okay, now this is quite niche-y, right? This is quite niche-y, but niche is sort of what you have to do if you want to win these high-value projects. So if you just want to win anything, then you just say anything. But with marketing, what we do, it's almost like fishing. You have to select the fish. And if I just jump back out here to give you this, you got to set your goals. What am I trying to achieve here? What sort of fish do I want to catch? Okay. How can I want to be the most valuable, bait for that fish. So these two here around creating the bait and getting them to come to you, you've got to hook them and then get them on board. So this is really about selecting the fish, because when you go out fishing, if you just say, I'm going to catch any fish in the world, then you'll either catch none or you'll catch the wrong stuff. And that's one of the big mistakes a lot of you are making, is you don't have a fishing rod set up to catch a particular type of fish. And you'll see exactly what I mean when I show you the examples of how specific we are when we're looking to communicate to a specific marketplace, right? Now, if you think about marketing, you do, and for a lot of you, it doesn't work very well. It's because you're far too broad. And when you're broad, you're not valuable, right? You're just another architect. We don't want to be another architect. We want to be an architect who can solve a specific problem for a specific client, okay? So in this case, let's say we choose, this is the type of fish I want to catch. Okay, this is the type of fish I want to catch. So step number 2, pick a niche, and we want to position yourself as either a specialist or the number one option. Okay, so in this case, this person is going to pick and this is actually a real case of an architect, and he was based in Sydney, actually, in Australia. And this is the process we went through to help him win these $1 million projects. Okay, so I'm putting my name in there. So Richard Petrie, aka also known as the ROI guy, is West Wellington's leading backyard developer consultant. I'll tell you why I use that word in a minute. Petrie helps homeowners with large sites understand what is possible and what development can cost and what the upside might be. Okay, so notice what we're doing here. And this is just an internal positioning statement for us, really, to understand how are we going to position ourselves? How do we want to be seen by our marketplace? Now, marketplace being people who have large sections in this affluent area, who have the ability to subdivide and are thinking about it. Okay, now there's a few things, and bear in mind, we could say this to our marketplace, or we might just use this as our own reference point when we're talking and coming up with messages, right? But ROI guy implies, part of my target market is interested in making money. Okay, we've got a label for this niche, the backyard developer. Okay, I've added the word consultant because I really want to be seen early on as someone who helps them analyze the options they have on their site. And actually, it's that early consulting process that I really want to emphasize, because if they see me as the consultant or some sort of advisor around this, then they're going to call me in early. I don't want to be called in after they've spoken to the builder and a few other people. I want to be called in early to help them analyze, let's say, the investment. Okay. Now, for a lot of you, you might say, oh, well, I don't know. I can't really do that. I don't know what the upside would be. And that's what I'm saying. When you're a specialist, you are able to do that. When you pick a particular niche, you do get familiar with what properties are worth, right? And what they, in an area, what they cost to subdivide and build in this case. And the more you know about this particular topic, let's say the backyard developer or your version of it, the more value you can add. Because if I do a few of these or a couple of these and I get going, or I do one for myself, or I do one for one client, I've gained a lot of experience, right? And I start talking to real estate agents about the values of things. I don't have to give assessments of what a project, let's say I subdivide something. I don't have to be the one saying it'll be worth this, because what I can do is call other people in, like a real estate agent, to give me an assessment of value. I can use other people, right? But the more I get in there, the more valuable I can become. If I'm a generalist architect, I probably wouldn't know some of the stuff that I would know if I was more committed to it. Now, I'm not saying either, and I'll differentiate on this, I'm not saying that this person has to only do and work with backyard development clients. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is he or she will set up a marketing system which is dedicated to catching those fish, right? So the marketing system. So part of the marketing system is having that sort of statement where you're very clear about, how you want to be seen. Okay, so we know who we're after, backyard developers. We know how we want to be seen, kind of as a consultant to help them analyze things early on. Right, now we need to move into value. Now we've got that clarity, right? We need to move into value. So I need to create some sort of statement that I can use. And I call this a $1 million message. And this is a way that I'm going to communicate my value to my market. Now, when you communicate value as an architect, it's really hard, right? It's really hard to communicate value as an architect because you can say, often it's, my designs are really great. Well, that's not really much of a value statement for a client, right? But you can see here, because we've picked a niche, it's much easier for us to be specific about the value we can add. Okay, now once again, this is a message. It's not necessarily something I'd cut and paste exactly, but it's a baseline that I can adapt depending on who I'm talking to and where I am and what the media I'm using and the format I'm using. I can take this and I can adapt it depending on where I am, right? So this one says, and this is designed as my outgoing sort of message. We help property owners in the western suburbs of Wellington who think their site might be developable, if that's a real word, but don't know where to start, right? To our ROI roadmap, our ROI roadmap will identify all reasonable development options that you have and identify the best one for you. Within 30 days, you'll know your best option. You'll have a roadmap, which will just be simple. The roadmap will just be a series of steps they should take and a set of suggested experts and a realistic budget range. And you can make that quite wide, right? In one easy to understand document. Now, if I am a property owner who owns a reasonably large section that is maybe subdividable in an affluent area that warrants building a second dwelling on it, do you think I would be interested in this exercise? I can tell you, yes, I would, because I am a property owner. I am in this exact situation. I know what these people think, and I know this is exactly the type of thing they're after, because I am this guy, and I did do this. And I actually paid my architect, who has been through this program, I paid her about $2,000 to go and do this exercise for me. And this is the second time I've paid her to go and do this exercise because I had another section in a different part of town, right? Now, I'll tell you how easy it is. This is not selling architecture, you'll notice. This is not selling architecture, is it, per se? This is selling a service, because the biggest problem that someone like me has, and this is what you know when you become a specialist, you know what your client's biggest problems are. The biggest problem someone like me has is, what do I do? I think it might be developable, but, how do I find out? I'm a marketing guy. I'm not an architect. I'm not a developer. I'm not a surveyor. So, but it's really, really valuable and very useful for me to know. Okay. So now, in terms of, is this, okay, well, that's me. You're a marketer and you taught her to do this. So of course you're going to buy it off her. No, I also spoke to my next door neighbor and said, I said, here's what we're doing. How big's your section? Oh, gee, do you think you could subdivide it? He said, yeah, I've been thinking about that, but I really don't know. I said, oh, you should speak to Mona. She runs a service where she'll work it out for you. She'll tell you what you can do, what you can't do. And it'll give you an idea. I said, $2,000. He said, I'm up for that. Now, I'm not an architect, but I've just sold an LCC. So I said, I'll give you a number to Mona. He rang her up and he did it as well. right? So anyone who most people, the idea of subdividing a largish piece of land, well, it's not that large, but it's subdividable. There's money to be made, right? So for $2,000, for me to know I can do it and what some of my options are, very, very valuable. Very valuable. Now I can do that if I'm a bit of a specialist. If I have one of my arms or legs of my business just does that. Okay. So, all right. So there's the value is in that, in this example. Now, once again, I'm not saying you should choose this niche. I'm just saying this is an example. Now, if I was working directly with you, or Eric was working directly with you, we would be looking for a niche, a high value niche for you that you could build a marketing system for. And a marketing system is just a series of steps and things that you put in place to attract, educate, and convert these people into clients. All right, let's have a look at, okay, lead. Now we want, okay, so how are we going to get these people? We can't rely on people like me to refer, although we can to some degree. But how can we go out and get lots of these people? Well, we might create something which is called a monkey's fist. So one of the things, what we're looking to do is you look to be a thought leader now. Step number 4 is about being a thought leader. And thought leaders always create content or talk about things which are highly relevant and useful, right? So you ask yourself, what are the questions my ideal client would love to have answered, right? Can I subdivide? What are the rules? How much will it cost? What would it be worth if I sold it? How would I make a profit? Great. Now, these are the questions that someone like me, the backyard developer, wants to know. So can you help them with any of these? Now, we're not going to do it all for them, but we can answer some of these questions and produce content, right? Now, I don't want to be a content writer. Tough. It's just, this is part of a marketing system, right? If you want to make $300,000 a year, doing 4 projects for $1 million, this would be one of the steps I would suggest you put in place. So you come up with some titles for some tools or resources. What does it cost to build a townhouse on my Kelburn site? How to make money building another unit on your existing Kelburn section. The definitive guide to building a townhouse in your Kelburn backyard. How much money can I make subdividing? The dummy's guide to subdividing a building in your Kelburn backyard. Okay, what are townhouses worth? Okay, so these are some examples of something you would produce. Now, what do? You produce them and you make them available to people, right? How do you do that? Well, here's one example. And this is just an example. You could do this any way. You could take any of those things and just start promoting them. Yeah, could be done on Facebook. It could be done on letterbox mail drops. It could be, referrals. It could be done through referrals that they know these documents or reports or tools are available. Here's an example. If Kelburn is the area that I live in, which actually it is, what if I made a local newsletter like the one above and put it in letterboxes? Very low tech, this would be, right? I mean, we could do it on Facebook or LinkedIn, probably. Any of those social media platforms that's able to target geographically. But do we need to target geographically? Couldn't we just put flyers into letterboxes of people who have large sections, right? So, how to turn your backyard into big money. And this one here just talks about, look, here's the laws are changing and you can subdivide, and the local council's under pressure to get more housing into the area, and so therefore the laws have changed, and therefore your section may now be subdividable, whereas before it wasn't, right? And I see down the bottom, local residents can access. There's a guide here that Petrie Architects, specifically for people talking about adding townhouses to their section. Local residents can access a handy guide of new rules by going to this website, said Petrie. All right. So this is a self-made little newsletter that could be put in envelopes, could be put on notice boards, could be given to local builders, or and there you go. That would be one example of a marketing piece specifically dedicated to backyard builders. Okay, backyard millionaires. Local expert says Kelvin homeowners can win with the new law changes. All right, so far so good. All right, is that enough? No, it's not enough. Okay, so let's say we have a number of people. Let's say we have 10. Let's say we just have 10, where 10 people requested this resource on, making millions out of your backyard, which is actually feasible. As you know, people can make quite a bit of money by doing this type of thing. Oh, here's another example. This might be, maybe this is the back page of that one. I can't quite remember. I think it is. A fortune hidden in your backyard. So it talks about the steps, and it gets people, if you want to schedule an initial feasibility discussion, call this number or just email me. All very low tech, right? Just talks about the opportunity. Here's the steps you need to go through, and you can check out if you can give me a call for half an hour, and I'll ask you a couple of questions, and if it's any good, then I'll arrange to meet with you, right? So there's an example of getting them to move into a meeting. All right. Now, okay, meeting's good, but how are we going to make money from this little baby? We need to have your LCC. Who's familiar with an LCC? Okay, it stands for low commitment consultation. And this is a really important step, which we've been teaching this for 10 years. And when I first started doing this, no one was doing it. We've now had a lot of members go through our program. So a lot of people are doing this now. You may be familiar with it. You may hear other people teaching it now, but this is where it came from. So this is a paid pre-design research exercise. Right? Paid pre-design research exercise. It can take a number of different forms, right? But in this case, we'd probably do something that was related to, as I talked about earlier, analyzing a backyard to see if we can subdivide it and what some of the options would be if we can, right? So it's a diagnosis. Here's a wee example. And this would be, there we go. So here would be an example of, look, okay, you have your meeting. You then say, hey, well, the next step would be this or something like this, the ROI roadmap. We're going to work out if we can make you some money with this. Good for, here's what it is, here's what it does. And I mean, this is something that you would go through, in the meeting with people. Right. So when you have that initial meeting to see if it works, you say, yep, I think it would. Here's the next step. Here's the next, what's covered. All right. Now, I don't know. Some of you might have some questions, but I don't want to get too hung up on, okay, well, how would we work out I'll quickly do it. Okay. So here's an example of, in this case, this is what was done for me by my architect. Value of the build work. So she went and got a real estate agent to do an assessment of the value. She didn't want to do it, obviously, but she can get a real estate agent to do assessment of what it would be worth once it's built. Here's what the costs would be. And she worked all that out. It was kind of handy, right? And she estimated a lot of these figures. So these are consultants in here, but she knows enough about this type of thing to be able to do a rough estimate. She's put it in a bit of contingency. It's going to cost, $1 million. And she worked out the equity. The real estate agent said it's going to be worth this. All the costs are going to be worth this. Looks like you might make $500,000, right? Now, that's pretty useful to someone like me. That is very, very useful. Now, that might be slightly beyond what you do now. You might have to get a real estate agent in to come up. You might go, I've got to come up with a finished price. Well, you don't have to. Someone else does. Okay, but you can haul in other experts just to fill in some of these pieces. But what you're providing now is something really valuable. What you're providing now, in this case, the backyard developer, you're providing a piece of value which no one else is providing. right? No one else is offering the service. The backyard developer has to work all this stuff out for themselves and usually doesn't. So that's why they sit on their land for long periods of time until someone helps them informally. But what we're doing is we're packaging up a system to help them formally. Now, you may not want to work with this niche. I get that. And that doesn't matter. The process is the same. Let's just review the process again. And we're going to take questions in a minute. So if you have any questions about this process and how it might work for you, have a think about it now. Type in the chat window. And also, has this been useful to you? What's been the biggest insight you've had going through this? What's something you've picked up where you've gone, oh, a light bulb's gone off for me? So type in LB so that we know it's a light bulb, and just type in, LB and then what your light bulb moment is, and then type in Q and what your question is if you've got a question. Or if you've just got a comment, just type in C, then your comment, just so we know what you're trying to achieve with each of the things that you type in. Okay, so I'll just review all this because we've covered a lot in half an hour, right? Okay, so the objective, the focus was, look, we want to help, in this case, this person earn $300,000 a year. And we said, yep, to do that, and we could do it a number of ways, but the way that this person said, I only want to work on 4 really good projects, because at the moment I'm working on about 12 projects a year and my wheels are spinning, and it's I'd love to just be able to focus on 4 really good ones. And so, okay, great. Well, then $4 million construction projects where I get a 10% fee, that would be 400,000 in revenue. And if I had 100,000 worth of expenses, then that would be 300 grand. And in this case, this person says, I'd be very happy with that. Thank you very much. Fair enough. Now, there's a number of different ways we could have done that. Obviously, we could have done 10 projects or anything. But in this case, then we said, okay, pick a niche where we can build some marketing, where we can build some value for a particular type of client, where we can solve one problem for one client using one platform. Okay, and this person, hypothetically, said, I want to help people subdivide their land because that's where a lot of value is. People can make $500,000 sometimes if they subdivide their land and build something on it. And that's a pretty valuable thing for me to do for people. No one would have an issue with my fee if I was helping them make 500 grand or more. Okay, so that's why I'm picking them, a high value client. And then what do we do? Very quickly, we worked out that we were going to provide sort of services which help them understand how to do it. So there's a lot of stuff we can do. We might just have to speak to a real estate agent or someone else, haul them in, and then create that value. Okay, so that's what we were going to do. That was our strategy. We then come up with $1 million message where we were able to verbalize how we can help them. We're going to take them from point A to point B in this period of time and get this result for them. Okay. And then we talked about, then we have to think about the questions that they would have, because this is where we're going to be a thought leader. We created some resources and tools, and then we offered those resources and tools as a way to generate leads, basically. And that, it not only is that useful for, we could do flyers, and I'm not suggesting you go out and put flyers in letterboxes, but that's a very simple way of doing it. You could, but you can advertise these resources as well. Okay. Then we talked about getting a meeting. So we offered the resource, but we can also offer the meeting for those who are, makes sense to them. They've read our content. By the way, this step over here, Circle of Love, is about following up with people who request information, and you would have ongoing sort of content that communicates the value of, and answers more and more of the questions. So it's ongoing, so that they can book a meeting at any time. We get them into a chat. We then say the next step is to, do the exercise, and then we can tell you exactly where you stand. and we do the exercise, and then we're off and away. Now, once they've done the exercise, if everything looks good, rough numbers look good, it looks feasible, you think you can do the job, then they're going to hire you to do it. Okay. Now, notice all these things are, we're building one fishing rod for catching one type of fish. If I also wanted to do some commercial work and something different, I would build a different marketing system using exactly the same process, but I would customize each of the different ingredients here for the commercial projects I was trying to work on. And once again, I would be looking for a specific type of commercial project where if I get where I can add the most value, where can I be highly valuable? I want to provide a high value service to a high value client. Because when I'm providing a high value service to a high value client, and there's not many other people being that as specific as me, then it's very easy for me to position myself as number one and the most valuable, right? And I can talk about things for that particular type of client, and I can offer particular services for that particular type of client, which are spot on. It's exactly what they want and what they need, because I know what they value better than anyone else because I'm focused on it. Okay. So I could have 2 or 3 different marketing systems which are catching fish from 2 or 3 different ponds. I probably wouldn't need to. In most cases, the guy that I helped in, New South Wales, you do this well, you only need one niche. And then you can still take on other work. You can still, if someone wants to renovate a house, if you want to do it, you can still do it. But ideally, you only need 4 projects like this, don't you? Right? You only need 4 projects. Well, that's not very many to have to go out and find. All right. So I'm going to jump back to Eric. And Eric, if you can if there's any questions or things, insights, if you can just run through some of those, and I'll have a drink.
All right. So thanks, Richard, and thanks all of you for watching and sharing some of your light bulb moments and questions. I'm going to bring them up on screen, and then we'll have a little chance to talk about them. So Patrick, thank you. You said that have a light bulb moment about being niche or number one option. Niche is clear. How do you become the number one option? So that I'm not sure if you're saying that the idea of becoming the number one option as a specialty, as a way of focusing a business, was a light bulb moment, or if you want Richard to explain a little bit further about how to become the number one option.
Yeah, I think he does. Okay, very high level in 30 seconds or less, but by being a specialist in a particular area, like the example I gave you now, there's 3 different ways I teach for becoming for becoming number one in a niche. One is you become a specialist, and that doesn't put you as number one, but it puts you at the top end. Okay. The other way to become a number one in a market is to have I like setting architects up where they're a monopoly for a particular niche, right? And when I say monopoly, they're the only one providing a certain set of services that's of high value to that niche, right? Now, you can see in this case, because it's quite narrow, there's no one else offering this service, right? You're the only one. You're the only one offering it. So, it's quite easy to say, I'm the number one, consultant. You can call yourself a consultant, helping people, So you start providing services and tools and resources that no one else is providing, because everyone else is a bit of a generalist. Okay. So I like to move you into a position of being a bit of a monopoly where you're the only one. If they want a service like that, there's only one place they can go, and that's to you. All
right. So Peter Rieger, hi, Peter, nice to see you back again. Diagnosis light bulb there. So I'm guessing that basically just the idea that instead of talking about, hey, look at our portfolio, or we can help you figure this out, on a design perspective, the diagnosis of what's feasible, what are the next steps, what needs to be done. That's the diagnosis. So
Yeah.
good.
Just before you go on,
Yeah.
guys, if you're listening to this and it makes sense, and you're going, I think it kind of makes sense to me. I'd like to know more. Type in chat if you want to chat to us, because one of our team can run you through more detail as to how it works, and coaching options and things like that. Obviously, we're happy to. We've coached like over 900 people through various iterations of this process, and it's got quite refined to the degree that almost any niche you go into, we've got examples of what people have done when they've, at every step in the process. So we've got, this is all we do is help architects win projects. So if you're interested in having a chat with us, type in the word chat, and someone will reach out to you and connect. Okay, carry on, Eric.
Yeah. So let me just pull up that. Where was the light bulb one here? This one. Okay. So in this one, I just checked Wanda Mills Boca Chica. Clear and manageable directives that the consultant and client can follow up on and be held accountable for. Okay. So, being very specific about the steps that you are offering, and that everyone can follow, and that in fact can make success for the project more likely. So great.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. I tell you what, it's not something I talk too much about, but one of the issues that you guys have as architects is that a lot of people don't really understand what you do. That's one of your problems. And so by being very clear about not only what you do, but clear about the steps that you're going to take people through, demystifies a lot of it. And particularly, they don't want to know everything, but early on, there I am there. Early on, if you can just spell out what happens and the value of those things, you don't have to sell the whole lot. If you can just get them on the early stages and sell the value of doing the early step, then you get engagement. But normally contacting an architect can be a scary thing, and I don't even know what they do and all that sort of stuff. So we do get very specific when we're communicating, setting up a system to communicate to your ideal client. We tell them exactly what you're going to do, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and we don't take them too far down the process. We just get them on like an elevator. If we just get them on that first step, the elevator takes them up. We don't have to worry about that. We just got to get them on the first step, and that's kind of what I showed you today.
Mm-hmm. So, question from Right on the Mark. I'm not sure that person's name. How do we find the proper client who won't ask for discount and is available to afford this type of project?
Yep. Well, theoretically, it's very simple. In practice, it depends on the market you choose, but you've got to target high value clients, right? So to a lot of clients, doing a renovation or doing a build, not all clients get the same sort of value out of working with an architect or building, right? Some, it's seen as an expense or a cost. Others, it's a way to make money. So it's not just people who want to make money. I'm not saying that, but what you've got to target when you think about what sort of niche do I choose, you're looking for what is a high value niche that you can deliver a high value service for, right? And one easy way to think about that is go back to all the projects that you've done in the past. Has there been any category of client? Have a think about all the clients who have received huge value from the project that you did for them, right? Like huge value, whether it's, made their property worth more, or it got them an outcome which was hugely valuable to them. Have a think about those type of projects, and that would be the first place I'd be looking for. Where do I find really high value type projects? Because some of your clients in the past will have done very, very well out of working with you, right? So just identify even just the projects you've worked in the past, and then maybe that could be a niche, right? You say, okay, well, these people did this thing and they got huge value out of it because of this and that and that. Great. Can we find a number of those? Could we specialize in getting that type of result for those type of people? And we just keep digging until we find those niches. There's lots of them because most architects, no one particularly hones in on a niche, but that's where the money is providing a high value result to a high value client where there's not many other architects position themselves as experts in that area.
Okay, so there's a question here, is also from Wanda Mills Boca Chica. Is there a computer program that can help to manage this model? So I'm not quite sure what you mean by manage this model, but if we talk about how can you communicate, how can you find these clients and develop your business around it? Well, there's two things. One is understanding the strategy, the scripts, the ways to approach things, and that would be training, like what we offer. This is just a taste of that. The other would be a computer program or tool that would simplify being in front of people, answering those questions without you having to answer them all individually. So that is generically called a CRM, or contact relationship management system. We actually have one that we created. We call it the Sunshine Island app. And that actually helps you keep track of all the contacts who come into your world, who request information, who you've had some contact with, or as you have contact with them, sends them information, including newsletters or other, mass mailings to 10, 20, 200, 5,000 people, whatever number of people you have in your world. So the Sunshine Island app is a CRM that we've developed on top of a well-known one in the industry, but put in our own framework specifically for architects. So it'll help you with that. But the key thing, I have to be honest, tools like that don't make a difference unless you have a strategy, unless you really are approaching things in an effective way. It's like, just because you get a power saw, it doesn't mean you can build a house. You have to actually have a plan for the house and get the materials for the house and all of that. So, all right. Moving on. Light bulb moment from Scott Milner. Paid pre-design consultation. Absolutely. We have talked about this for a very long time, and that is a way to differentiate yourself, because you are offering value in the pre-design area. It allows you to do a much better job than you would if you just said, yeah, let me go check the zoning for you and we'll see what, I'll pencil something out, and then, you'll have that. And you do that hoping that they go, wow, that was really helpful, I want to hire you. If you actually offer it as a formal pre-designed service, they become your client, and you're now in a position to take them to the next step if the project is feasible, which of course you want to evaluate even on a cursory basis right before you start. In other words, is this a client I want to work with? Is the project seem like it could fly? And then say, I think this could work. We need to do this pre-design consultation. So yep. We call it the low commitment consultation, or LCC.
Right. Some good comments coming in here. Thanks, guys. And by the way, just to help you out, we will give you a summary of the process in a PDF format. I'll get Christian. You saw Christian at the start. We'll get Christian to get that to you. And I think what we'll do, Eric, is I talked about having other resources, but he'll reach out to you and see if you want anything else. Okay, so if there's something else that's particularly sticky for you, then we'll get Christian to connect with you, and he will go into the library and find something else that might be useful. He'll do that later, but he won't do it now. But
so if you wanted to send an email or post a comment in chat saying that you would like Christian to reach out to you and get some additional assistance in addition to the PDF, which we'll make available, then Christian will make an extra effort to be in touch. All right. So whoever educates the market owns the market. So that is, I think I've heard that before, Richard.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
it. That King's Bishop has had some good comments, actually.
Yeah.
He's okay. That King Bishop too. That King's Bishop too. Okay. And he wants a chat. That's good. And Scott Muller, we're going to have a chat with you too. That's good. Thanks, guys. LB consultant.
Yeah. All right. So remember to put in chat if you'd like to have a chat with someone on our team about our programs or just how to build your business, make your architecture or design firm more successful. We can give you some resources, and we have programs, of course. 6 Maps is our flagship program, which is designed to help any small architecture or design firm just attract and win better clients and projects. In fact, we guarantee it. So if you put in the chat comment there, we'll be in touch with you and we'll talk about how we guarantee 6 new clients for you in the next year, or you pay nothing. So that's a very bold guarantee. So I'm not going to dwell on that right now. We'll go on with some more comments, but we're very confident in our work, and we have so many architects and design firms that we've worked with very successfully that we guarantee.
It's a bit like that niche thing, isn't it? Because I used to be a marketing guy for anyone, well, for anyone really. Yeah. But I sort of said I specialized in people selling big ticket items. So I work with real estate agents. I work with recruitment companies. I work with private investigator, people moving houses, lawyers. So I used to do everyone, and I was always telling them you really should niche, but I was quite aware that I wasn't particularly niched myself, right? And the benefit of, then I met Eric and Enoch, and we started doing a marketing program just for architects. So we're kind of doing the same thing that we're telling you to do. And from my, when you just work on one particular niche, and we're not all architects either. We're not for big firm architects. We're not a good fit for them. Everything we've got is really designed for the smaller firm architect. But when you do specialize like we do, and like I'm suggesting you consider, then it means that you do become an expert in your area, sooner or later, because you get to see everything, and you get to understand all the questions and the problems, and you understand all the roadblocks. So when a new client comes in with a roadblock, you've already dealt with it 10 times before. The same as if you were working with a particular category of client. If you're looking to do the backyard developer, you know all the problems. Oh, I lost you.
Oh, we're still seeing you, Richard.
Oh, okay, that's all right. Someone made a phone call and it kind of disrupted my. It's a guy actually who wants to sell me his house. I can speak to him later. But look, you get to know your little market inside out, and it just becomes much easier for us. We can collect every single step that we take people through. We can collect examples of it, which are highly relevant and useful to our people. But the same way, if you're taking someone through your, you can collect examples, and you just become so competent in your area. And not only that, you become seen as so competent because you are specializing. So it is a way to go.
Okay. So Bethany says, light bulb moment, was just thinking about the word consultant as a valuable pre-design recognition. So yeah, I mean, when you say that this is one of our specialty areas as a consultant, we do this, and it's separate from, or in addition to, or complementary to the design process that, of course, your firm has always been built on. You design buildings, get them built, etc. So consultant, as something that's actually, you're not just offering advice, you're offering a consultation. So there.
It's good.
Yeah. So right on the mark, who I think was, he said his name was Gabriel. Says, I don't know if this is the right place to ask, but how would you structure your fees into those 300K projects, or whatever the value would be? So Richard was talking hypothetically about a very common practice. I'm sure you're familiar with it, and you probably use it, which is basing your fee on a percentage of construction costs. So, And the 300,000 he was mentioning were 3 projects that were $1 million construction budget. Now, in some areas, $1 million construction budget is large, and in other areas or types of work like commercial projects, $1 million may be minuscule compared to what you do. But the idea here is that whatever you calculate, if you go for the larger projects, if you are able to find the clients who can get value from the larger projects, then you can win, certainly earn a bigger income. Now, one thing to think about, and I'll just add this to whatever Richard's already said, is you don't have to base your fee on percentage of construction. I mean, that is a common thing. And, people generally say, oh, well, if it's twice as big a project, it probably takes twice as much design, etc. Well, we all know that smaller projects sometimes take more effort because you're trying to fit things in, and it's just more effort overhead to do than the larger ones. And larger, big warehouse or big, commercial ones might actually be simpler because there's so much repetition. But ultimately, you have to think about it in terms of the value you bring. And Richard, I love the diagram you've had and shared some in other live streams about the increase in value compared to the fee. So in other words, if your fee is 50% more than a competitor, you can still win if you can convince the client that you're going to do a job where the difference in the design fee, let's say it's between 10,000 and 15,000, or between, 50,000 and 65,000. Well, what is that difference compared to the value of the project? Maybe, you make sure that the project has a higher resale value or other, less quantifiable attributes. So you provide higher value, even if your fee may be far beyond others or the 10%. All right. So I see WMB Consulting here. You said that you'd like some resources. All right. We'll make sure that Christian reaches out for you. Now, Hal Framer, I remember Hal, I was based in LA for many years as a consultant, and I remember talking to you at one point. Does this system work in a slowing economy as we are in now? And you're indicating that you'd like us to have a chat with you. I would say yes. And one of the reasons I would say that unequivocally is that the world hasn't stopped. Even when we had the pandemic, things didn't stop. They shifted. Maybe there were less things, but there's activity going. So if you can position yourself in a way where you provide value and diversify services and specialize, you can attract the things that are going. There is still activity. And just reading something actually today about inflation cooling, and the economy is still actually being very active. We aren't going into a recession at the moment, is what it appears like. Now, building industry is not as hot as it was a year ago because mortgage rates are up, to be sure. But there are still projects happening. So yeah, we can definitely help you, Hal. We'll make sure we have a chat.
I'd also say that it's probably more valuable. A process like this is more valuable because if there are less projects going on, when there's lots of projects going on, you can probably rely on referrals and things like that, and people will just pass them over to you. When there's less projects, you need to be communicating with a larger number of people to be able to fish out the smaller number of projects that are going on, right? Now, how are you going to communicate with a larger number of people? You can't. That's hard to do. But if through your marketing can communicate to a larger number of people, right? And to be valuable, you don't really care if a whole lot of people don't click on your ad or don't respond to your poster. But if you're only looking for a handful of projects a year because they're all high value, you may need to get your message out to a larger number of people, and so therefore you need leverage. And therefore, marketing like this, where we're promoting educational resources first to hook them, makes it easy to get that message out to a larger number of people, and then
right,
haul them on. You can't do it manually, and you may not be able to do it through just referrals.
Right. So I see Darren made a comment. That's very confident. I like that. I think you're referring to our guarantee. We'll join our program in the first year. We guarantee you'll get 6 new clients or you pay nothing. So that's our guarantee. And Scott asked for a chat. Steve Pribble, old friend. Thanks, guys. Great. All right. See Gabrielle Tontini, a familiar face. All right. Beauty of the AMI program is that it not only provides you with information on how to raise prices, but also the entire mindset needed to do so. Incredible value. Well, thank you, Gabriel. Yeah, we've worked with Gabriel, and he's certainly developed his whole approach to marketing for his own architecture practice based on our, what we shared with him years ago. All right. So Gabriel, right on the mark, says thanks. Oh, Michael Falonis. Hey, Michael. Don't know you well, but I certainly have had contact with you over the years. Thank you both. I do need a bit of marketing before the day is over. All right. Well, I know you're an FAIA. You're a fellow of the AIA, and well recognized. Still, marketing helps to just make sure that among all the other fellow AIA fellows, you stand out in the specific areas that you want to go for. So we can definitely help you, or at least it would be well worth a conversation, and we can see whether we can help you. So thanks for joining us today. So I guess we're about to finish up. I'm going to say, if you do want to have a chat, you can type into the comments area, and we'll make sure that Christian reaches out to you, and we can arrange to have a chat. He'll help you with some additional resources, and if you want to go further and want more information about our actual programs, then he can set you up with a call. Any last words, Richard?
Not really. I just think, what I've learned working with architects is that, your practice is only as good as the projects that you can win. And it's like any technical experts. You guys are technical experts in what you do. So you spend many, many years learning to, be great designers and all the other technical aspects that go with that. It's a hell of a broad ranging job. It's more than just design, isn't it? But you're only as good as the projects you can win. And so you do need to invest time and effort into learning how to win the good projects, right? And hopefully today has given you some insights and a bit of a framework for one way of doing it. We've been doing it for 10 years. So if it didn't work, we'd have been out of business a long time ago. But, but it is all around. You do have to think in terms of the context of value. And so how do you get value? You get value by providing, I said it earlier, but you solve specific problems for a specific type of client one at a time. And you can't do it if you just generally, I'm going to solve problems for anyone. It's too hard because the problems are too diverse. You need to be really good at solving specific problems for a specific category of client, to a depth and to a degree and a way that you can communicate that no one else is. And that's when you become number one in a market. And that's it. And win better, and then win the better projects. When you're winning better projects, you can charge higher fees. When you're not desperate for work, you don't have to accept, you don't have to get questioned on your fees. You can charge, when you are that expert in that particular area, you can charge what you want, because it is a high value result that you're delivering for a high value client. Now, there is a bit of, it is a bit of an art finding the high value result for the high value client. That is a bit of an art, but when you get that right, that is the foundation that you can build everything on. After that, marketing becomes easy and winning projects can become easy. Is working out what the best niche for you is easy? No, it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. So, if you want help with that, that's kind of half the job. And when you get that sorted, then all of a sudden everything can be built on top of that.
Mm-hmm. All right. So a comment, Mark Van Den End. Whoever educates the market owns the market. Totally agree with what you presented. Interested in resources. Well, we'll be in touch, Mark. Awesome. I'm also looking, I guess, Curtis Shovaker says, interested in the chat. We'll be in touch. And Michael Flonis, I did pull it up. So Michael, thanks for your additional comment. I'm sure as a fellow of the AIA, you have done great marketing over the years. And, we can talk about maybe refreshing it, giving it some, a new angle or set of angles for you. So I look forward to talking to you if you want to pursue it a little further. Darren Curry says, what software did you create your mind map on?
I use MindMeister.
So it's MindMeister. If you do a Google search for that, you'll find it. There are a variety of mind map tools online. This one is a web browser-based tool, so you can actually work in the cloud, and like Richard can say, "Hey, Eric, check out this thing," and I can go open up that map and tweak it if I, have any reason to, or at least look at it. All right, so I think we're about done here. So thank you all for joining us. Just to type in chat if you'd like some help, or just drop us a line, an email to support@archmarketing.org, and we shall be in touch. So Richard, thanks again for an enlightening presentation, and we shall be back with another live stream soon.